Let me
All
start
right.
here. What do you like about your team this year? I know you guys have probably been practicing for the better part of a month, and those of us in the wrestling circle, we know that you got eyes on your team pretty much all year round nowadays. But what do you like about your team coming into this season?
I like the way they work together, and there's a lot of coaching going on with between the kids, which I really like to see. I always try to develop my wrestlers to be their own coach, and then they pass it on to, the younger wrestlers. And, there's a lot of info sharing going on, it's just a real cooperative action that from the group that I really, I like to see that, and it's happening. So.
That's awesome. This is year 14 for you, right?
No, I think it's 19.
19. Okay.
19 at Valley. Yeah.
Yeah, 19 at Valley. So I'm curious, what have you kind of learned about the profession, the sport of wrestling? Like what are some lessons you've learned over, nearly 2 decades of coaching?
Well, actually closer to 4 decades of coaching, but
Well, 2 decades at Valley.
At Valley, yeah. I'd say things I learned in the 80s, 90s, and the zeros, are different now. Coaching is evolving all the time. I think students are changing. We've got issues now that we didn't have before that need to be addressed by the coaches. And, I feel like I've constantly grown as a coach. And a lot of it's just paying attention and listening. So that's sort of what I've been focusing on, at least this year.
Absolutely. Yeah. You guys start competing this weekend, right? I was kind of glancing at your schedule. You guys head out to Wichita this weekend?
That's correct. Yeah. So nice medium-sized tournament to kind of get our feet wet. We've got some talented freshmen that need to get on the mat. A couple of them that know zero freestyle. So, that's always a fun experience to make that transition. That all of a sudden it's 8-0 and they have no idea why. So that sort of thing. But, we've been doing a lot of competition in practice, and I really am proud of my older girls for stepping up and, mentoring these young wrestlers that we do have.
Yeah. I'm curious. I'm kind of curious about the transition to freestyle. I know that there's, I think most high school girls wrestle folk style, right? Like it's not super, at least at the high school level, right? I know a lot of them do, some freestyle stuff over the summer.
Yeah. So within the high school federation, it's all folk style.
Yeah.
A lot of them do USA wrestling freestyle in the off season, but it's a whole mindset of freestyle that's different, where you have to go and get it, and there's not a lot of room for a defensive wrestler to do well in freestyle. It's really about the action and changing that mindset of going out and getting things.
Yeah. Is that like the biggest part of the learning curve in terms of trying to, once they get to that next level, not only getting them up to college speed, but kind of teaching them a few of the nuances of freestyle?
It depends what kind of wrestler they were in high school. If they really dominated on top, it's not going to do a lot of good in freestyle because you don't have a whole lot of time to dominate on top. If they came in as a good takedown wrestler, they're going to transition just fine. But that whole mindset, you take the Jordan Burroughs mindset versus the Ben Askren mindset, and you saw what happened in the freestyle match. It's
absolutely.
Ben was made for folk style, and Jordan was made for freestyle. And we look at a lot of different examples. Helen Morales just goes out and gets it. So, and that's what you got to do.
No doubt.
Yeah, I do think there's a 3 or 4 year learning curve as far as learning little tricks of freestyle. But as far as just, that first year, it's just learning to be the attacker.
100%. Yeah. Was kind of curious with you guys officially hitting the mat this weekend. Do you kind of know what the starting lineup kind of looks like, or certain wrestlers maybe you're excited to see finally hit, actual out of the room competition?
Uh, we kind of know what our starting lineup looks like, but we've got some holes to fill, and we've got some, weight descent plans to deal with, and those little things that we deal with in the early season. I think by early January we'll be rolling really good.
Right on. Yeah, I think one of the last questions I had for you, Coach, is the kind of the on the idea of the growth of women's wrestling at the NAI level. It seems like every year we see a lot more women's programs join NAIA. I mean, women's programs joining all over the country. Really, they're popping up everywhere now. But I mean, especially at the NAIA level, you guys have really done a good job just kind of cultivating a women's wrestling. Um, there's a lot of really good women's wrestlers at the NAIA level. What's it been like kind of watching this evolve and grow? I know really rapidly in recent years, but really over, the last decade or so.
Yeah, I think the current state of the NAI owes a lot to the WCWA, which, we formalized in 2004.
Yeah.
But basically, we took the NAI men's rule book and just pasted it into the WCWA rule book. So we had a jump start on all the things that we'd have to face once we were recognized. So we were already doing eligibility, we were already doing weight descent, we were doing all those things already. So it made for a nice, easy transition.
That's awesome. Yeah. How much further do you think the women's side of the NAI can still grow? I mean, how much bigger do you think it's going to get between now and maybe 5 years?
Yeah, I think we're at 41 for next season, which makes it a championship sport. And I think once that happens, I think we're going to see, like the West Coast and East Coast are very uninvolved with the NAI women's wrestling, or NCAA for that matter. So I think you'll see some growth on the coast, and I think I won't be surprised to see 80 teams in about 4 years.
That'd be awesome. That'd be really awesome. Just opening up more
and
opportunities.
California JUCOs have sanctioned women's wrestling, so that's a big product out there that's going to feed the colleges, hopefully.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think honestly, Coach, that was everything I had for you, unless there was something else you wanted to add about your team or NAI or women's wrestling.
No, I mean, nicest group of kids I've known in a long time. So happy to coach them, and I'm excited for the season.